part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hello.
What's up?
We do have another episode. It is another week. I am Jason Otero. You are
Gary LeMaster
This is the Ball Card Show, the sports podcast.
for the Sports Collector.
As always, we are brought to you by the Press Play Podcast Network. Baseball is right around the corner, baby.
It is. But you just got back from vacation. Took
Yes.
a little family
Little R&R.
trip down to the old White Sand Panhandle.
That's right. The White Sand Panhandle. That's what everybody calls it.
Destin.
It was fantastic. It was beautiful.
Oh, it looked awesome. I think my favorite picture was Sid flexing on all of her arcade tickets.
Oh, there is a arcade down there called Fat Daddy's.
Okay.
We spent a lot of money.
I could tell based on the armloads of tickets.
So we got there right when it opened up, and they had a bunch of like the claw machines, and
Yeah.
apparently they set out all these big ones right when they opened. Well, because we got there right away, the kids were just cherry picking this stuff. But that wasn't the tough part. They had a lot of the coin games. My wife and I love slot machines. So it was scratching an itch.
Yeah.
But we went back a few times. I'm not going to say how much we spent, but the kids got a few Tootsie Rolls.
Did
out of
some
it.
work.
We did work on it. It was
Did
pretty
some
fun.
work. That's awesome. though.
But I'm back. You know what? I'm going to compliment you. You're usually very disheveled and unpleasant looking. However, today you found a new barber, and
I did.
You trimmed your beard.
Got a
and
fresh
here's the
cut.
strange thing: usually, when I can see more of your face, it's not a good thing at all for anyone within an eye
100%
shot.
True.
But in this case, I got to say, you look sharp, and you have this sick hat from Baseballism, not a sponsor yet, of the kid.
Yeah,
It's like
I saw
pixelated.
this. Yeah, it's the Super Nintendo version from Super Nintendo Baseball.
Super Nintendo version from Super Nintendo Baseball?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that I see what you did there, but that's exactly what it was
I just was confirming.
they made the game for the next two generations of platform too.
Yeah. What console did you play it on?
The Super Nintendo.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
But no, I saw the ad for this hat on my Facebook feed, and I immediately was like, "Oh, they're getting my money."
Yeah. Yeah.
So I immediately go to the website, and not only did they have this hat, they had a whole other line of junior stuff. I haven't bought any of it yet. There's a good chance I will. They have a Clemente line where it's the outline of that famous outline of Clemente's swing, but instead of a baseball bat, he's swinging the Puerto Rican flag.
Of course he is.
They have the license from the movie Major League, so they've got all the apparel with the Mohawk baseball.
I don't think we should promote another second without them giving us a dime.
That's fair. I'm just saying, if you want some really cool baseball stuff,
Here's a problem. Once they figure out what you like on the social media,
You're toast.
You're shopping all day long.
yes, 100%.
Luckily for me, most of those companies sell T-shirts that don't fit me like they say,
Right.
and I have no interest in looking like cased sausage, as you call it. But they still got me. Anyway, we're gonna jump in. I'm pumped because I love flagship Topps Baseball. Series 1 is released, and in my opinion, since I've started collecting again, now the first set that I bought boxes of was Series 1 2019. That was Tatis rookie card, right?
That sounds right.
So that was a pretty hot product, obviously. I still like this Topps Series 1 for 2023 has been my favorite Topps baseball product release.
What's your favorite
date.
part about it?
Well, I think a few things are happening. One, it's being marketed.
Yeah.
It's clear to me that the relationship through Fanatics, they're trying things out. There are bounties for these different sets. The insert sets are interesting to me. Typically, this is not the case. Typically, you have a tribute to a player, and there's 50 cards and a paragraph on the back, and they look boring. But the insert sets for this product are really nice. Additionally, we're looking at perhaps the most loaded rookie class we've seen in a very long time.
10 to 15 years.
Yeah, very, very, like when you start talking about this, like the comparison I would make, which I'm a little partial to, would be that 85 top set was the last time, there's not a lot of sets out there where you're seeing this many potential stars that people are excited about. So the value's there.
Well, the price point has been a very attractive thing too. You can
Yes.
still buy hobby boxes. Jumbos are sold out on Topps' website. But as of yesterday, and this is Friday the 24th, so as of Thursday the 23rd, there were still hobby boxes on Topps' website for $89.95. Most hobby shops are between $85 and $100. Jumbos, when the product released, were $160. They're up to about $250 in a lot of places now. Still, if you're buying by the case, you can find some deals and get it for around $200 a box, which I think with this rookie class, it's a great stash product. I said it a couple weeks ago. I just think it's so deep, the rookie class is. There's 15, maybe 20 guys who legitimately have potential to be at least a one-time All-Star, if not a multi-time All-Star. Most flagship Series 1 rookie classes have 4, maybe 3 or 4 guys like that, and one of them will end up becoming that. So you have a 20 to 25% rate of success. But when you're 20 deep, that means there's going to be 4 to 5 guys, maybe 6, who end up being perennial All-Stars.
Yeah.
That's like 2011, 2012 top stuff with like Freddie Freeman and Nolan Arenado and Mike Trout. And like it's that level of rookie class.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a loaded class. The price point is good. The insert sets were actually thought out.
I love the aces.
The all aces set. Here's the thing. They made them all refractors. They have a little bit of that die cut vibe.
And the back looks like a playing
They
card.
look like actual playing cards. And the resale value on these, so typically those inserts are basically worthless. In this case, I'm seeing them raw like consistently $2 to $5 for just a base
and they
insert.
also did autograph versions too. Now they are sticker autos,
and there's
which
numbered
stinks,
as well.
but they're really cool.
So those are awesome. The other thing that we had happening was I think they've improved on it this way. In the past, you open up a box of these cards, you go through everything. I kind of have a few piles. Here's rookies, here's hits, here's inserts, here's base, and then you would kind of look back over the back of the cards for the serial number to see if you missed any SPs. You can still do that, but what's really cool this year is with the SSPs, unless you're under a rock, you've heard a little bit about this. At the very minimum, they've stamped SSP on the card on the back, which is great.
And it's a different color.
Yes.
And the Topps logo on the front is gold.
Yes. And they had this right with Heritage. That's one of the things I like about that product is now it says
what
if you're
the
looking at a
variation is,
variation. So it makes a lot of sense. They're not overlooked. And on top of that, you had bounties. So what that means is DA was one of them, right? They're selling, wholesale cases and pallets of stuff, right? So their first pitch for Series 1 is if you can collect all of the gold mirrors, a $250,000 bounty is out there, which means they had a buyer, right?
Somebody actually ripped 300 cases live trying to get it, and they didn't complete it.
They were close.
But I think that the math is held true. The gold mirror parallels on average are about 1.3 to 1.4 a case.
Not necessarily, though.
Well, no, I got lucky the other night. You and I were both in the same break, and it was back-to-back boxes in a case, and each one of them had a gold mirror parallel, and I actually hit them both. I had 21 teams.
I have
in
a
each
hunch
one
that
of the,
case is pretty hot.
Yeah, I had 21 teams in both those breaks.
Yeah.
So.
One of our buddies, Danny, shout out Danny.
Yeah,
Danny.
absolutely, Danny.
Hillbilly Breaks. Every now and then he hops on there.
Yeah.
Big Reds fan.
He does a good job breaking. You would do better at it, Danny, if you were more consistent.
Wow. I got nothing. I got
Danny,
no shame.
Danny just got to break, man. You just got to break every week. Just not
Give us product.
Just not when Series 1 drops every year.
Give us product.
I always look forward to you doing it, though, when Series 1 drops every year.
Yeah. Anyway, shout out Hillbilly Breaks. They also have not paid a dime, so that's where that promotion ends.
Right. Give us yo cash.
More on it. So there's also a bounty for Series 1, Series 2 update. If someone puts together all of the SSPs, gold mirrors, $1 million bounty, $1 million cash. So here's what I like about it. They are incentivizing within the hobby, and there is excitement building around products that during the hype over the last couple of years, people were like, oh, if you can't hit something huge out of that, don't mess with it. And it really burned out people that have been a part of the hobby for a long time of like, what's the point in collecting this and that? So this kind of is like, you got Wonka's golden ticket in there that could be in any pack, right?
Well, and we talked about this 6 months ago, kind of prognosticating what the types of things
I
we
want to
thought.
pause you right there. I just got shipping and tracking notification from Danny at Hillbilly Breaks.
Oh.
Has that happened?
Yay!
So, shout out for being
I think
prompt.
I did too.
Wow. He had to know. His
He
spider
had to
senses
have.
were tingling.
That's funny. Anyhow,
I'm sorry.
we talked about this
forgot.
6 months ago, prognosticating the types of things we thought Fanatics would be doing. Right now, some of these bounties and stuff are happening from outside third-party sellers. I really think we're going to start seeing them directly from Fanatics. Leaf is already doing this. Leaf has a set out right now, and they release them 4 or 5 cards a week. They're print to order. They're all autographs. They're all numbered of different players across different sports. But they've got a thing going. If you put the whole set together, that there's going to be something mammoth at the end of it. Now, you're probably going to spend $15,000 putting that set together because a lot of the cards are expensive. There are a few that are $30-$40, but there are also a few that are $600 or $700.
Yeah.
You know, they had a dual auto of Erling Haaland and Lionel Messi that was like $1,200. I still almost bought one because that's such a cool card.
Yeah. Yeah. So, they've done a lot of good stuff with this. I want to talk a little bit more about some of the insert sets. The only one that I really hated was the 30 for 30 and 30.
Yeah, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look
It looks like a
premium at all.
promo card.
Yeah.
It looks like a home run
fan.
challenge card.
But the greatest hits of 2022 are sweet. That
They're
kind of
sweet.
foil look.
Heavy lumber, wood grain cards. And you have some of like the OG, like I saw McGuire and the A's stuff. That was
Yeah.
pretty cool. And then there's a nickname set. So like polar bear cards, some short print stuff there. There's actually this. So I feel like with this product, somebody was in the room saying, hey, how do we encourage set building with the new generation of collectors? Because that's an important piece, obviously, for revenue. You're going to open more than one box if you want to build out a set. But by making insert sets interesting in a product where a lot of times it hasn't been, it's clear that thought went into this and that there's a value there. I broke more of this than I have anything in a long time. I usually get into Bowman, but Bowman gets pricey.
It does.
And there's high risk there, and you're kind of sitting on cards for a while. With Series 1, you can usually sell pretty quick anything you hit out of it. For me, I've found more value in the multi-case breaks. So, I'm not – Whatnot is not my favorite platform. I went with one of the larger breaking groups out there, which with good reviews. And man, some of the teams I snagged at the price points I got them at were fantastic. However, if you're doing this, you need to pay attention. Some of these groups that are open in multiple cases. So let's say that they do 3 breaks in an evening of 3 cases. It's going to take a couple hours per break. The expectation is they're going to have stuff shipped out the next day.
Right.
Like Whatnot really pushes that, which is great. The trade-off is, at some point, it's nearly mathematically impossible for them to completely sort into 30 teams everything with that many cases. So some of these breaks I jumped into, here's your team, here's your price point. Unless you have one of the big 5 rookies, all the other base rookies are going to be divvied up amongst you. Well, if I have a hunch that somebody's going to be great, I want every single one of those base cards.
Absolutely.
So be mindful of that. In the descriptions, they'll tell you what's going on. I asked some questions. Now, I like one of them, I got the Brewers in 3 cases for $40. And then I ended up getting like 100 base rookies of all these other teams. So it worked out well for me. But in another break when I went with the Guardians, I wanted every Gonzalez.
Right.
I want all of them. And I didn't get all those. So keep an eye on that. You can still do smaller box breaks. Gary hit, a few great cards out of 2 boxes. But just be mindful where the value is. Never spend more than you're comfortable spending.
Right.
But there's a lot in there.
That's the thing that is tough about some of this stuff. So, like Jason was just talking about with different rules and breaks, that type of a situation, I wouldn't necessarily care how cheap something was. I would probably avoid that because I'm going to target teams so I would not buy the Braves at the price point that they're at in multi-case breaks right now. However, if I was buying the Braves, I would want all the Vaughn Grissom cards.
Yeah.
But I would only get all the Michael Harris cards and maybe
Yeah.
a few Vaughn Grissoms.
Yeah.
I think that long-term Vaughn Grissom and Michael Harris are going to be very similar players.
Yeah.
Why would I not want all my Vaughn Grissom?
Here's the other thing I'll throw out too. when you're in some of these big breaking groups, if they have that kind of a policy or they're only shipping hits or whatever, ask for base. Sometimes those guys are like, yeah, we'll auction it off for a few bucks. Sometimes they'll throw it in a box with it if you'll pay extra on shipping. Like,
Yeah.
you never know.
Sure.
Yeah.
Doesn't hurt anything to give it a shot.
And with the way that they move through some of that, you know, they do kind of know where the hits are, but there's always a possibility an SP slips through.
Oh yeah. and I will say that I love the design of this product. And I recognize, I've heard a lot of people say they don't care for it very much. Part of the reason I love it is because it is reminiscent of my childhood. It feels like 83 Tops with some modern flair.
The font is legible.
Yeah. Oh, you can actually read the card. You don't need glasses.
The bordering is easier to pre-grade. That's
Yes.
a huge one for me.
Yes.
I would agree. So, I mean, overall, huge thumbs up to Top Series 1 for this year. I'm excited for what this could mean down the road. I'll buy more of it when I see it. I'll be buying retail when I see it.
I would go to hangers if you're buying retail.
Why is
guys.
that?
If you check the pack odds for Golden Mirror parallels and everything else, your pack odds are way better in hangers than they are in blasters.
And that's why you listen to us, you know? That's a nugget.
So pack odds for hangers for a Gold Mirror parallel is 1 in 203. Pack odds for Gold Mirror parallels in a blaster are 1 in 1,200 and change.
Mm-hmm.
So
Big
if you're
difference.
chasing base rookies,
Whatever.
who cares?
Yeah.
Buy whatever you want.
Yeah.
But hangers are $11.99, and you have better odds
Yep.
at most stuff.
Yeah. All right. The next big one, product release we're still talking about. Actually, let's jump over to football real quick.
Okay.
Donruss Hobby has released
2022,
$270 a box.
which is half of what it was last year, and
And
it's still
still-
3 times more than it should be.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't, I guess it's like they know that they'll get more out of Donruss by releasing it earlier.
Well, they release it in staggered, so they'll smash Hobby early, but it's going to come out retail in the next week or two, and then everything drops. That's why if I'm ripping Donruss, I'm just going to go buy some blasters. I'll get all my rated rookies because that's really all I'm looking for in Donruss. There's still a chance I can hit it downtown, but I'm not chasing that. I'll just buy, 10. If I buy, it's the same thing I talk about with Bowman. If I buy 10 blasters, I'm going to be at $270, which is the same as a hobby box.
Yeah.
I'm not guaranteed an auto, but I got a decent chance. And if I get my auto in my hobby box, there's a really good chance it's going to be somebody not worth a crap, right? I'm going to come out with more rated rookies, probably 3 to 4 base rated rookies of all the guys you want instead of the one or maybe not at all in a hobby box. I'll have more of the Elite Series inserts that do pretty well of big names.
Yep.
It's just one of those products where retail makes a lot more sense than hobby does.
Yeah.
It just does.
Well, and one of the things I was talking with you about is when people are trying to break a lot of this stuff, they're going after, what is it? It's not the Kaboom. It's the
Downtowns.
Downtowns.
Yeah.
And they're really pretty cards. I think I am more averse.
Averse means disagreeing with.
Okay, that was the right word. You ever say it and it just is like no.
Yeah.
So you say it as a question and then you're explaining it. It's like explaining a joke and it gets funnier every time. I'm more averse to products where the big chase doesn't have an autograph on it. So like Absolute Football, those Kabooms are really cool. Those base cards are the most disgusting things. And guess what? You're going to get a lot more of that than you are Kabooms.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Donruss, you'll have autos, you'll have 101s and all that kind of stuff too. But, I mean, the guys are pushing these downtowns. Cool cards.
Yeah.
Cool inserts. They should have a value. For me, I want to know that somebody held that card, especially an on card if you can get it, that this card was in the hands of that player when they signed it.
Right.
That's a really cool feeling.
I think that it goes back to what you're buying a product for. If you are buying Absolute, you're chasing Kabooms, it's a lottery ticket. With Donruss, you're going to get a lot of rated rookies, and players that end up being good, their rated rookies are never going to be worth less raw than $4, $5, $6 a piece. And a lot of times way more than that. Josh Allen raw rated rookies are $50. Patrick Mahomes raw rated rookies are $100 to $150. Trevor Lawrence raw rated rookies are $5 to $10. It's just in the long run, it all depends on what you're in this hobby for. But as somebody who sets up at shows and as a dealer, I would much rather have 30 $5 cards than a chance at one $300 card.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Yep. Up next, it's a big what the heck.
Okay.
Bowman. Where are you?
We don't have a release date for hobby or retail yet. There's nothing on the calendar. And normally Bowman baseball releases in March. And we're right around the corner from it, and there is nothing on the agenda. And it makes me nervous because that means that if we don't get Bowman baseball till April, May.
Are you going to be okay?
Well, no. But that means we won't get Chrome until October, November.
Yeah.
Means we won't get draft until January, February.
Yeah.
That seems not cool.
Yeah, not cool.
Throws the calendar way off.
Yeah.
I like to have Bowman right as spring training is kicking into full gear because a lot of these
better
guys.
for reselling.
Yeah, you're damn right it is.
Somebody had a home run. This base card is now worth $8.
Right, sell
I've got
it.
30 of them.
Yes, let's go.
Yep. Okay. That's it on the release front. Pitchers and catchers reported, and wouldn't you know it, DeGrom is already injured.
Yeah, they're downplaying it, but again, maybe, and it's a sad tale because when the dude is healthy in the last 8 years, there's not a better pitcher in baseball, and it isn't even close. But he's healthy so rarely. I saw a post the other day, somebody asking, would you rather have Jacob DeGrom or Justin Verlander? And my response was, is this a real question? Like, it's Verlander 100 out of 100 times, not because he is physically a better pitcher than Jacob DeGrom, because he isn't, but I can count on 35 to 40 starts from Justin Verlander, and they're going to be quality starts 90% of the time. I can only count on 10 to 15 starts out of Jacob DeGrom, and Verlander's making half the money.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even a real question.
Yeah.
So pitchers and catchers, we're going to see hitters show up March, 3rd, 4th? So it's getting into the fun part of the calendar year. I really wish that I had taken some time and either planned a trip down to Jupiter or out to Arizona. I want to do that one of these years. Just go for a week to spring training and just watch 3 games a day and
eat sunflower seeds.
Yeah, get a bunch of autographs. It'd be cool. It'd be a really cool experience.
We should do it.
We should.
All right.
Bucket list.
Bucket list.
Don't whisper. Can't hear you.
Bucket list.
There you go.
All right. We're going to continue our commitment, and it has been quite a commitment.
For you, I love every second of this. You dread it every
We're not
week.
even halfway through this.
No.
But we are continuing our prospecting. You know what I just thought of?
What'd you just think of?
Will Ferrell's skit, The Angry Prospector, the old prospect. Did you ever see that?
Yes, because Adam Sandler's in it too, right?
No, not a chance.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it's not. Chris Kattan is like doing a debrief with military professionals about, oh man, I can't remember. He was like going over some type of mission, and then Will Ferrell stands up with pots and pans, and they're like... They're saying something, and he said, I'd be more worried about coyotes if I were you. Who is this? My name is Gus Chiggins. Chiggins. It was a skit that never made it to SNL.
Okay.
But it was on the Best of Will Ferrell.
Okay, I got you.
And it's just... Basically, it's Jimmy Fallon breaking character 20 times in that skit, which is about 5 more than normal.
Well, oh yeah.
But
well, that's my favorite Will Ferrell skit ever was the Harry Carey. That was far and away my
Jeff
favorite.
Goldblum?
Yes, just losing it.
hey, Jeff, if the moon was made of barbecue spare ribs, would you eat it? I'm sorry, what? I know I would. Heck, I'd polish it off with a nice cold Budweiser.
I love that skit so much.
Hey, Jeff, what's up with this mad cow disease? It was here for a while, and then it went away. Your thoughts?
It's so good. And we're so off track, but that's so good.
At one point, he was like, he starts to answer, he goes, well, it's been a pleasure, Jeff. Okay. Anyway,
shoot.
what I was trying to say is we are on the eternal list of prospects.
NL West.
NL West.
this
We're going to
week.
start out with the D-backs. We'll drop a few names and why we think that they are definitely somebody to keep an eye on.
Yeah, one of the
Invest in.
reasons we chose the NL West this week is because there are so many guys that we're going to talk about that are going to be up this year. They may even break camp. So
Yep.
you got a window here.
Okay. Up first, Corbin Carroll.
No-brainer, top 5 prospect in baseball. Realistically, could be number 1 and nobody would bat an eye. I think he's ranked 2, but it's him and Gunnar. That's it. Really fast.
Yeah.
Really good bat-to-ball skills. Gold glove caliber defender. Is going to steal a lot of bases. In-game power, I don't know. It looked decent last year, but he also was hitting in environments where the ball just flies.
Well, and 20-plus stolen bases a year if that you're projecting that. You know,
25 to 30.
Yeah. A base hitter is not a bad thing for him.
No, he's a kid that can 90th percentile outcome, top of the level outcome is a 310, 25, 30 bags, gold glove, perennial all-star. Like he's that type of talent. Floor is probably Christian Pache level defense or close to it, and a league average to slightly above average hitter. And if Christian Pache isn't getting DFA'd, Corbin Carroll's going to stick for years and years and years.
Yeah.
So really good player. His stuff is not cheap, but it's also not as expensive as it's going to be by June.
A lot of these names are more recognized in this division, so not
Yeah.
a lot of them are going to be super cheap.
Right.
I feel like last time we had more sleepers in there.
Yes.
Up next, another name that you're fairly familiar with. I know that he's not a secret if I know who it is without having to look him up.
Right.
Jordan Lawler.
2021 draft, first round pick. What's he? Second overall, I think. Second or third.
Bonus of 6.7.
Yeah, because that
Number
was
2 overall.
Yeah, number 2. Okay, because Henry Davis went first, but there was a lot of conversation which one of those guys was going to go first overall.
Yeah. Witt was there.
Witt didn't get drafted in 2021, bro.
No, Witt had louder tools and was more advanced. Lawler entered 2021 as the top high school prospect.
Yeah. He, again, a kid who's going to play a really high level of defense at shortstop. Will stick at shortstop for his career. It's not a concern. The question with Lawler is in-game power in environments where the ball doesn't just fly a country mile because the air is thin or it's warm. That being said, he makes loud contact. He has a really good approach. He doesn't strike out a ton. He walks a reasonable amount. He gets on base. And at the major league level, worst case scenario, he is a league average starting shortstop that's better defensively than league average. But
One
again,
of my favorite things with a hitter, which may translate to nothing. You know where I'm going with this. He can hit that ball opposite field.
yeah, no, he uses
He
the
can
whole
hit
field.
inside out. Yeah.
Now that the shift has been banned, it's not as big of a deal. Although, have you seen a couple of the diagrams how people are going to combat the shift being banned?
Yes.
And I was like, there's only about 4 third basemen that can do that.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be a disaster for a lot of teams. Like Arenado can do it. Matt Chapman can do it.
Panda would have been great.
That might be the list. Like it might be Nolan Arenado and Matt Chapman that can cover left field. Like that's what they're going to ask these guys to do is cover left field. So, but Lawler again, not cheap, but and it's probably late this year before he comes up. If he comes up this year, still really young. Is he 20?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if he makes it up this year, that's awesome. I think the Diamondbacks have such a bright future, though. They've got some guys, man. They've got some guys. Corbin Carroll's going to break camp. Who's our last guy on this list?
Davison De Los Santos.
Does not have a Bowman card yet. We don't have a checklist for 2023, but I will be very surprised if he is not on it.
19 years old.
Jumped 3 levels last year. Hits the ball so hard.
Yep.
And does not have crazy bad approach. It's not like he's striking out 30 or 35% of the time. He's a 25% strikeout guy with crazy power. Just crazy power. And again, 3 levels last year, low A to high A to double A. As a 20-year-old, I think he was 19 when the season ended last year. So he's a guy that nobody really talks about. If you're looking for a guy that's a little bit of a sleeper, that if his stuff comes out and you can get it cheap, it's really, he's going to just blow up this year, I think. He could be the Jackson Churio of this year.
Well, and it looks like, you're getting him for his bat. Fielding, he'll figure that out.
Yeah,
he's not bad. He's got soft hands. He's able to get the job done. But this is a middle lineup guy that's got a lot of pop.
Universal DH fielding just doesn't matter as much anymore. It matters, but not as much.
Let's move to Colorado.
Okay.
Up first, name that everybody's heard of by now, Zach Veen.
Zach Veen is... So the concern I have with Zach Veen is approach. He's a guy who is, and you know what I'm talking about with baseball, and if you're baseball people, you know what I'm talking about. There are guys who are so naturally talented at putting the bat on the ball that they'll swing at anything because they feel confident that they can put the bat on the ball. And that's been the case for them their entire life until they get to double A, right? It's the extremely rare hitter. Like, I can only think of 1 or 2 guys. Vlad Guerrero Sr. is probably the most commonly used example of this. It didn't matter where a pitcher put a ball. He could put the barrel on it. Yeah. I saw him once hit a home run with a ball that bounced 8 or 10 inches in front of the plate. Like, he was just that kind of a hitter. That's so rare to be able to carry that into the majors. So Veen has some work to do on approach. But the kid flies. What do you have, 50 stolen bases last year?
Yeah, he's fast. On the hitting, he just gets out in front of him a little bit. He definitely has improved on that, but that's what you see at the 2A.
He's a speed-power combo guy. He could legit be a 25-25. He could be a 25-40 guy in the majors. I don't think he steals less than 30 to 40 bases if he's given opportunities to do so.
He's an aggressive runner.
But I think that he is maybe gets a sniff this year. But realistically, he's a year away. And his stuff has cooled down. Last year, it was really high. It has cooled down to the point where it's an affordable bet to make right now. And I think just his overall talent level, if he can figure out some of the approach stuff, is going to make him a really good player for a long time.
Up next, a catcher. We don't do a lot of catchers.
Yeah, we don't talk about catchers a lot, but there's a couple that I think have real high-end potential, and this kid happens to be one of them.
Drew Romo.
Plus behind the plate as a defender. Plus arm. Plus fielding. Can handle a staff. Really good hit tool. Not a big power guy. Very reminiscent plate-wise of Pudge. Maybe not as good of a defender because very few people were as good as Pudge as a defender. But if Drew Romo had to come up to the major leagues tomorrow and handle a pitching staff, he'd be capable of it.
Well, and that's the difference between a position player like catcher and just about any other, and maybe pitcher would be the other one, but just about everywhere else, that leadership actually gets you called up a lot quicker. It's almost one of the only positions where your bat can catch up if the leadership is there defensively.
Yeah, and
he can't be a slouch. He's not.
Right. He's not. He's a solid hitter. He is not a big strikeout guy. He gets on base a reasonable amount of time. He's quick. I mean, he had 18 stolen bases last year. He slugs reasonably well. He needs to walk a little bit more, but it's not like he's striking out a lot. So if you're not striking out a lot, you can tweak your approach to get to that point. And again, he's a guy whose stuff is reasonable. I think his base autos are $25-$30. Catchers don't have huge hobby love, but man, there are so many catchers coming up right now that are really, really good and really, really athletic that it's worth sneaking
I
a
sent
few
you
in.
a video, a couple of the high school ones that
Oh, yeah.
I've been eyeing that are just like freaks.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll save that for 3 weeks from now when we're going through high school prospects. Up next, the one that's got probably the most hobby attention, I would say more than Zach Veen, just because of his tendency to do inscriptions with autos.
He's a guy, I think he actually
Benny Montgomery.
collects too. Yeah, Benny Montgomery. Here's the thing about Benny Montgomery. He has not even remotely scratched the surface of his power potential yet. The kid is 6'4". He's got a really smooth swing. Again, he's a kid who's got to hammer in on his approach a little bit. Mm-hmm. But even with a really not great approach last year, he still hit 310 across 2 levels. He only hit 6 home runs, but his average exit velocity, his 90th percentile exit velocity is like 103. Mm-hmm. That's really good. He strikes out a little more than he should. I think he was around 30% last year or close to it, 28 to 30%. That's got to get better. But he hit a lot of doubles. He will continue to work on his swing plane and get the loft a little bit better, and those doubles will turn into dingers. He's just so naturally strong that the potential is there for him to be huge. His stuff is also cooled down. Autos, you're going to pay a little bit more for than what I think you probably should be paying right now, but that's just where he's at in the hobby. I don't know that they're going to go any lower.
Right.
So.
All right. Let's move over to LA Dodgers. One guy that you have been excited about for quite some time.
Yes.
Miguel Vargas.
One of the things, and Jason can confirm this, there are certain guys that I get on early and I just really like. Sometimes I miss, but a lot of times I don't, and Vargas is one of those guys. Floor for Vargas is as high as any rookie that's going to be out there this year. All he does is hit at every single level. His absolute floor is that he'll play 135 to 140 games this year for the Dodgers at 3 or 4 positions. I personally think he'll lock up the starting third base job and just stay there. But if he doesn't, he's going to be in the lineup 5 out of 7 days somewhere. He can play third, he can play first, he can play second. In a pinch, he can play short. If you got a rangy third baseman, he can play either corner in the outfield. And he's going to hit, at a minimum, 275 with 20 jacks.
Yeah.
Realistically, his 90th percentile outcome is a 310 hitter with 25 to 30 home runs. And he walks a lot. He doesn't strike out. He's going to be a 4-WAR player.
Yeah. Well, one thing that's unique with him,
he's Tommy Edmonds with a little bit more juice at the plate.
He is a thinker. There are so many freakishly talented hitters out there.
Oh, of course.
That just make adjustments and don't know why it worked.
Yeah.
Vargas thinks about it. He really disciplines himself to understand the mechanics of hitting. Uh-huh. He really spends time with that. That's always promising with a young guy that's just like, man, I got to figure out how to weight back on curveballs. He's doing more than that. He's really thinking through it.
And he's a guy that would have been up last year with 20 teams in the league.
Yeah. Yeah.
He would have started at third for 20 teams in the league last year.
Yep. Who do we have next? Michael Busch.
Another example of the Dodgers just suppressing their dudes. Okay? Michael Busch should have been up 2 years ago playing ahead of the corpse of Cody Bellinger.
Which is sad to say.
Yeah, Cody Bellinger forgot how to play baseball. He won a Rookie of the Year, he won an MVP, and then he forgot how to hit. I hope for his sake he goes to Chicago and turns back into a great player, because baseball is always better with great players. And when you got great players in big baseball cities, that's even better for the sport. But in general, Cody Bellinger slashed trash for the last 2 years while Michael Busch just absolutely annihilated minor league baseball. Yeah. He is an all-star level player in the outfield. He's going to hit 25 to 35 jacks. I mean, he hit 32 last year across Double A and Triple A.
Good amount of strikeouts too.
Yep. I mean, he's a 25% guy? Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's roughly a 25 to 28% guy, but he's going to hit the ball out of the yard. He's going to hit for a good average along with those. He's not going to steal a lot of bases, but he's going to put the ball in play. He's going to hit it really hard. The moment doesn't get too big for him, and he can play 2 positions, but I think that realistically he's going to stick in the outfield. Should have been up 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And his stuff is reasonably affordable, you guys. Like, legitimately, his stuff is reasonable. You can go buy his base autos. I think he was 2019 draft. You can buy his base autos for $35 to $40. That's a steal, in my opinion.
Yeah. James Outman.
James Outman? James Outman is ranked so much lower than he should
I got a
be.
question. Why'd you say it like a question, like we didn't write these names
Well, it sounded
down?
like you said Altman.
Oh, you were hoping for a chance to correct me.
Yes. That's what I was hoping
Well,
for.
the joke's on you. I have a cold, and I said Outman.
Okay, Outman. So Outman's a giant toolbox. He is power over hit. He's going to strike out a decent amount. He can also steal 30 to 35 bases and hit 40 jacks. He's never going to hit 280 at the major league level. He came up for a minute last year. He had 4 games and hit 462. I think realistically he's a 240 to 250 guy at the major league level. He might have a year or two here where he hits 260, 270, but he's going to hit you 30 to 40 jacks. He's a huge human who runs
6'3",
well.
215.
Yeah, and he runs
With
well.
plus speed.
Yes. He's just a freak athlete who does have some swing and miss.
Swiped 23 out of 27 attempts on bases.
Yeah, and he walks a decent amount, but he's just going to strike out 30% of the time. Like, that's just who he is and who he's always been. But when he does make contact, the ball's going to go a long, long way. And his stuff is not crazy expensive either.
Yeah.
And I think he'll be up for the majority of the year.
Yeah.
For the Dodgers this year.
All right, staying out on the left coast. You see what I did there? Right,
I
left
did.
instead of east-west.
Yeah.
The Padres. First name, almost a household name at this point. If you're into baseball at all, Jackson Merrill.
So it's interesting because Jackson Merrill, until a year ago, was just a guy. He wasn't anybody that anybody was super, super excited about. He was a first-round pick, but you could buy his stuff for nothing. I was buying his paper-numbered stuff. I bought his gold paper for like $6. You could buy his stuff for nothing. And now he's a consensus top 30 prospect in baseball. He's got a really intriguing blend of speed and power and bat to ball. What he hit 340 almost last year across 2 levels. Power is still the in-game power has not cut up to the raw power, but his raw power is plus. Decent runner.
And part of it is he's kind of chasing the inside-out stuff, spraying. It's worked well on average for him, but he's going to have to figure out how to get
to that
barrel
in-game
through the
power.
zone.
Yeah. But he has the ability to be a guy who hits 25 plus, plays solid defense, and has a really good average. And if you got a guy who can hit close to 300 with 25 jacks, that's a guy who's going to be in the majors for a really long time. Yep. He's not going to get up this year, guys. Don't get crazy.
No cup of coffee for him.
No, I think he makes. Listen, I
always have said this.
Oh, stop it. We were talking about this episode, prepping for this episode, and I was like, yeah, this guy had his cup of coffee last year. And Jason got so annoyed with me and aggravated. He legitimately was like, stop saying that. What does that even mean?
No. I knew it meant something. I didn't know what it meant. I was annoyed that this is going to be our new floor ceiling talk or whatever your new filler word is.
Okay. Well, it's not a filler word. It's a legitimate thing. And once I explained it, he was like, oh, that makes sense now. But everybody that's been around baseball for any period of time, I thought understood what a cup of coffee meant. Like, it's been said for 100 years.
I've had many cups of coffee.
Yeah, it's been said for 100 years in relation to
I've heard of people
baseball.
saying, hey, so-and-so got the call up last year, played a few games.
Yeah, got their cup of coffee. They weren't there long. They had a cup of coffee.
No, I understand the analogy.
Okay.
I've watched a lot of baseball, listened to a lot of baseball.
I don't know, man.
If I didn't hear it on 700 WLW, can I trust you? Like, listening to Marty Brennan? I mean, this one belongs to the Reds. I remember that, you know? Cup of coffee.
Okay.
I'm sure you're correct, Gary. If you could see how pretentiously he is staring at his phone right now.
I'm trying to.
Because he cannot wait for you to chime in on Facebook and be like, oh, yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that 100 times.
Absolutely. Who's next?
I just wanted to rob you of the joy. Did I do a good job?
You did.
Yes.
Good work.
Sammy Zavala.
Sammy Zavala. So this is a cat who is, you're looking at pure, unadulterated potential is what you're driving at here. He has not shown a massive level of anything yet other than raw physical tools. He did hit, 7 jacks at low A in 33 games, which is solid. But he struck out a lot. But tools-wise, he's a 55 hit, 45 current power. I think he's more realistic, like a 50 power guy. Runs reasonably well. He doesn't do anything crazy good other than his hit tool, which is just plus. But all of it together makes him project as a league average guy. And he's only 18, which means those things could get better and better. He's still got a lot of room to fill out. He's 6'1", 175. He doesn't run well enough at that size for it to make sense for the Padres not to try to put another 15 to 20 pounds on him and increase the power output, because it's not like he's going to be a 30 stolen base guy as he sits right now.
I have nothing to add.
Okay.
It's just too soon. Not enough at bats for me to make much of a decision, or decision's not the right word.
Prognostication.
He needs reps. Finally, with the Padres, the first time we've had to do this so far, we're going to talk about a pitcher.
Yeah, hobby-wise, nobody loves to talk about pitchers, but the Padres just obliterated their system to go get Juan Soto.
They sure did. This is Dylan Lesko we're talking about.
Yep. High school pitcher, mid-first round pick in 2022.
Already hitting mid-90s.
Yeah. He's a 6'2", 200-pound kid. He'll probably grow another inch, and really has a really, really interesting arm slot in his delivery. It's not anything weird. It's just not something you see all the time. He has had Tommy John surgery, so he's going to be coming back this year basically fresh. He didn't do anything last year after getting drafted. But as a high school pitcher, his juice is undeniable, and guys who come out of high school sitting mid-90s usually end up sitting high 90s by the time they've gone through an actual program.
And his changeup is kind of his secret sauce. So
it's a 70. It's a plus pitch.
95 to 97 on the fastballs on the top end right now. That changeup is hitting low 80s.
Yeah, and it looks the same for the first 30 feet.
Lateral movement on the change, not just a dive.
Yeah. It's a nasty pitch.
If you can get a changeup to move side to side, it's a completely different concept for the hitter to pick up, because you're looking for the release, you're looking for spin. Typically, that changeup will drop off, and that's enough for you to. There's enough muscle memory from Little League, that the ball's dropping off. When this thing's just moving sideways on you, and you have the off-speed piece,
it looks like a super slow cutter.
Yes,
is what it looks like.
It's a dangerous pitch.
And when you've got 2++ pitches and and a plus pitch with plus control as a 19-year-old, that's a massive amount of upside.
Yeah.
And his stuff, not expensive.
Yep.
As most pitchers are not expensive in the minors until they're ready for their call-up.
All right, final team. Man, we've almost...
We flew through this, man.
You
feel better about this?
Flew through this.
I don't know what you want from me.
My coffee's cold.
Well, you're drinking it slow.
Well, it's because I got called up to stay.
Okay.
The Giants.
Okay.
Hey, if I was going to screw up a name, here it comes, but I'm going to try it first. Averson Arteaga.
Arteaga. You were
Dang it!
You were really close.
I wanted to give you one.
You were really close.
A lot of shortstops in this
Well,
roster.
that's shortstop is probably the most coveted position in baseball. Shortstop and center field, up the middle defenders, right? It's hard to find a guy who can hit really high level hitting and play a really good shortstop. So when you find that, it has a lot of value, both in real life and in the hobby. So Arteaga started to get some run hobby-wise middle to end of last year as he started really doing some things at low A. He spent 2021 in rookie ball and a little bit of low A, one game. But last year in 122 games as a 19-year-old, so playing about 2 years below the league average age-wise, he hit 14 jacks, had 84 RBIs, had an OPS of 776, On-base percentage wasn't great. Average was solid, 270. He's got to walk a little bit more. Strikeouts, not a massive issue, but a 28% guy.
Yeah.
The approach needs to get a little bit better, but he runs well, plays gap to gap as far as the way he hits the ball, hit a lot of doubles. I think that the wish on Arteaga is that he can become early career Brandon Crawford. Like, that ability is there. Maybe a little bit more potential than that, but I think that's the comp, and that's a really good player.
Yeah.
That's a really good player for a guy that you can pick up still relatively cheaply.
Yep. Up next, one that you and I have talked about a little bit, and a good value in, was it Chrome or Draft? Ryan Reckley, Chrome this last year.
I love Reckley.
Another shortstop. I'm not sure that he stays at short. Out of the Bahamas.
Yeah, so everything about him, from the way he came into baseball to where he's from to the way he plays, screams Jazz Chisholm to me.
Jazz Chisholm!
Yeah,
that?
Yeah, kind of. He is going to grow into power. He had a rough go in rookie ball.
He's 18.
He's 18, almost all approach base. He only played 11 games. He has the potential to be really, really good. And when I look for guys that I think have the potential to be really, really good, I look for a very specific intersection. I look for an intersection of relatively high floor and relatively low hobby love. He was the number 9 ranked prospect in the international class, signed for $2.3 million. There are guys who did less coming into that process, who are 18, 19, 20th overall in that class as far as rankings go, that are selling for 4 times what he is selling for.
Yeah.
So that intersection of value, both on the field and low value in the hobby, are things that I look for when I'm grabbing guys. Mm-hmm. He fits that bill. The other kid that we have talked about in the past, we'll talk about eventually again, we might have talked about 2 weeks ago, is Adenzo Reyes for the Tigers. Guys who I think have a lot of upside that you can buy cheap. I picked up Adenzo Reyes True Red auto last week for like $200. Mm-hmm. That's a steal. If he just hits a little bit oppo, it's a $2,000 card. Yeah. So anyhow, Reckley is a guy that you can get reasonably affordably.
Yeah.
Now his color autos are, you might spend $200, $300, $400 for,
give it a month,
50 or less.
Yeah.
But yeah,
he just has a longer journey to get where you got to go.
He absolutely does.
When you look at how many shortstops are in this program, how many talented shortstops,
I think
in this
he ends
program,
up at second base.
Yeah,
That's
going
what
to
I
be
think.
a little bit.
I think he ends up at second.
Finally, another shortstop, Marco Luciano.
Well, I think Marco Luciano is why he ends up at second base.
Yeah.
Luciano, there's a lot of prospect fatigue. He's been on people's radars for more than a minute. I think he's in 2018 Chrome. He was a 2018 signee. Now, keep in mind, that was 4 years ago, and he's just now 21.
Yeah.
So the things you dream on with Luciano is his raw power is just stupid. And his bat-to-ball skills are just stupid. But he's a little bit Bo Bichette in that he gets real streaky. Mm-hmm. And he will throw up a month and a half where you're like, oh, my God, this guy's the second coming.
Yeah.
And then he'll forget how to hit for a month.
Well, what happens with guys like him, the bat speed, the pop that he has, if they get in a rut, they think they're going to swing their way out of it.
Yeah.
And so he can get a little bit aggressive, overzealous. And then what happens with that is you just start chasing lower quality pitches that you have less to do with, and you actually make it harder on yourself.
Yeah, and that's what happened to him 2 years ago. And that's where the prospect fatigue came in. And then last year he was playing much better, and then he got hurt.
Yeah.
So only got half a season in. So the guy's still not out of A-ball. I think he'll get to Double-A this year, maybe Triple-A.
So how many games constitutes a cup of coffee?
I think most people think of it as less than a month.
Less than a month.
So 25 games.
So if you get like 2 months, no coffee, you just
Well,
got
you're
called
there.
up.
Yeah, and I think.
But a month and a half.
Well, what's the designation for rookie eligibility for Rookie of the Year voting?
I don't know
What is
this.
it? 110 at bats, 120 at bats. So once
If you
you've
get
had
that,
more-
it's no longer a cup of coffee.
yeah, it's no longer a cup of coffee. And then if you end up being a guy who gets that every year, you're a quadruple A player.
Yeah.
Like you're that's what you are. You're not quite good enough to stay in the big leagues all the time, but you're too good for triple A.
Well, and sometimes that goes on for a little while. You
Yeah.
know, the biggest story I remember that was Edwin Encarnacion was that way.
Yeah.
And it was so frustrating as a Reds fan because you saw how much pop he had. That team was pretty talented. I'm trying to remember who I was there. I just remember the Reds had a little bit of something going on, which doesn't happen that often.
Yeah.
And every time they sent him down to Louisville, he just destroyed it.
Yeah.
Came up and would struggle. Sent him to Toronto, and well, they sucked. Just kidding.
Yeah.
That was a pretty
It
gnarly
clicked.
team.
Yeah. Well, that's happening with Jarren Duran right now.
Yeah.
I think Boston has completely mishandled that kid. They've mishandled a lot of stuff in the last 4 or 5 years. But you
They
can't
have had some huge names come through there, and it just doesn't seem to develop.
and you can't take a kid who just rakes in triple. If you're raking in AAA, like truly raking, you know how to hit.
Yeah.
So you can't take a kid who has the speed that Jarren Duran has, who rakes every time he gets sent down, and then bring him up for 4 games in the first game that he struggles. You're just like, nope, I guess we'll just play Tommy Pham
Yeah.
and put him back down. Like, let the kid play through it. It's not like you're winning a World Series this year.
right.
Like, make him your starting. I mean, the freaking A's let Christian Pache hit 165 last year for a whole year and started him in
got
center.
to try to figure it out.
Yeah, like you gotta let guys play through some of that stuff. Give him a year. If he's still struggling the whole year, he's still striking out 35% of the time and hitting 240. Okay,
You already paid for it.
maybe that's who he is, but the potential's there. I mean, even the freaking Mariners are continuing to give Jared Kelenic
Yeah.
opportunities because and Joe Adell with the Angels, they still got to get opportunities because every time he goes to AAA, they just
Yeah.
rake.
Yeah.
You know, I don't. The way that some of these teams handle these young guys just makes my brain hurt.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. You made it through prospecting, man, and it was, what did we spend, 25 minutes on it?
Closer to 30.
Oh,
25 minutes and a cup of coffee.
yeah. I mean, I know it's not your favorite thing, but thank you for.
It's not my favorite thing until I go through dollar boxes. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, yeah, this guy. I know all about him. And I don't know.
Let me thank you for tolerating my proclivities for prospecting.
Well, it's okay. It's actually helpful information. And hopefully, folks at home, as they're listening to this, you're enjoying it as well.
And to be honest with you, if you're listening to this at your house, you're weird. You should be listening to this in your car when you're driving someplace.
What if
If you're just sitting in your house listening to podcasts,
I do that?
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Oh, you're weird. I don't know if we can be friends.
All by myself.
I mean, if I'm doing
Don't
something
wanna
like I have
be-
headphones in,
Shut up. All
I
by
don't like any part of this.
myself.
I don't like this at all.
One thing that was personally requested from a fan
was for you
at
to
the
sing
car show
over
was
me?
for me to sing more
I
often.
don't like this game.
Yeah.
No, I think that if you're like working and doing something that you have headphones in or something you're listening to a podcast, that's fine. But if you're like just like sitting in your chair
Yeah.
with your phone on your belly listening to a podcast while you do nothing else,
I love
that's weird.
that you helped me to visualize my phone sitting on my
Yeah.
belly.
Yeah.
It's a dead giveaway
Yeah.
because if you're not obese, you can't do that.
No,
Your lap, maybe.
I can sit a full beer stein on my belly.
Stein?
Yeah, like a whole big stein.
I know what a stein
Yeah.
is.
It'll just hang out there. I'm fat.
I know.
Yeah, it's okay though.
You look good, though. It's a good
I
beard.
appreciate
It's
it.
good look, good hat, good beard trim. I'm over here looking like I've been in a cave for a week.
You have.
I know. This has been the Ball Card Show, the sports podcast.
For the Sports Collector.
We'll see you later.
Peace.